The fall everyone saw. The floor was marble, polished, expensive, unforgiving. And the moment her heels slipped on it, time slowed just enough for humiliation to bloom. A sharp intake of breath rippled through the lobby as Maya Ellison lost her balance, her folders scattering like startled birds. The sound echoed, paper against stone, a soft gasp, the unmistakable rhythm of someone about to fall in front of people who were already judging her. She never hit the ground. A strong arm snapped around her waist, firm and steady, pulling her back against a solid chest. The world tilted, corrected itself, and then froze. Because when their eyes met, everything changed. For a split second, the noise of the lobby vanished. The murmured conversations. The clicking heels. The quiet laughter that had followed her since she walked in wearing a thrift store blazer and worn flats. All of it disappeared. He was close, too close. Close enough that she could smell clean fabric and something faintly cedar-like. Close enough that his breath brushed her temple. And his eyes, dark, assessing, unreadable, locked onto hers with an intensity that made her forget to breathe. Then reality slammed back in. "Oh my God, are you okay?" someone asked, not quite hiding their amusement. Maya straightened instantly, stepping out of his grip as if burned. "I'm fine," she said quickly, gathering her papers with shaking hands. The man who had caught her didn't move right away. He stood there watching her, not with concern but with something sharper. Something colder. Then he spoke. "You should be more careful. Not cruel. Not loud. Worse. Dismissive." Heat rushed to Maya's face. "Yes. Sorry." She hated the word the moment it left her mouth. The man gave a curt nod, already turning away, as if she were an interruption that had briefly inconvenienced his day. "Ethan Hale," someone nearby greeted him warmly. "The board is waiting." Of course they were. Maya remained crouched on the floor for one extra second, forcing herself to breathe before standing. She could feel the eyes on her, some curious, some judgmental, some pitying. First day. First impression. Disaster. She had spent the entire morning telling herself this was a fresh start. A chance to finally step out of survival mode. To stop being the girl who didn't belong in rooms like this. And now she'd nearly fallen flat on her face in the lobby of one of the most powerful development firms in the city. Perfect. As she walked toward the reception desk, whispers followed her like a shadow. Is she lost? Probably catering. No, interns wear badges. Maya pretended not to hear any of it. She'd learned how years ago. When people underestimated you often enough, you either broke, or you adapted. She chose adaptation. The receptionist barely glanced up. Name? Maya Ellison. Administrative consultant. The woman paused, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Looked up again. This time slower. Oh. That single syllable carried more weight than any insult. You're early, the receptionist said. I was told 9. Yes, well. Take a seat. Maya nodded and moved toward the chairs lining the glass wall. As she sat, she caught a glimpse of her reflection. Dark hair pulled into a practical bun, minimal makeup, clothes that fit but didn't impress. She looked exactly like what everyone here assumed she was. Insignificant. Across the lobby, through the transparent walls of the boardroom, she saw him again. Ethan Hale. Tall. Composed. Effortlessly authoritative. He stood at the head of the table, jacket off, sleeves rolled just enough to signal control without casualness. People leaned toward him when he spoke. Listened. Nodded. Power recognized power. Maya looked away. She had no business watching him. Still, she couldn't shake the memory of that moment, when he'd caught her. The strength in his grip. The flicker of something unreadable in his eyes before it hardened into indifference. She didn't know it yet, but that slip had done more than embarrass her. It had put her directly in the path of a man who had already decided who she was, without knowing a single thing about her. And men like Ethan Hale were rarely wrong. Except this time. The weight of being invisible. By the end of her first week, Maya Ellison understood the rules of the building. Rule 1. Speak only when spoken to. Rule 2. Never ask questions that might slow someone important down. Rule 3. If someone like Ethan Hale looks through you, accept it. She followed every rule, and still felt like she was failing. Her desk sat just outside the executive wing, a narrow strip of space wedged between a printer that jammed constantly and a glass wall that reminded her, every hour, how close she was to power without ever touching it. People passed her all day carrying urgency, authority, confidence. They rarely made eye contact. When they did, it was brief. Appraising. Forgettable. Can you make copies of this? Schedule this. Get coffee. Always said politely. Never said kindly. Maya did the work anyway. Flawlessly. She double-checked numbers. Caught small inconsistencies in reports others skimmed. Fixed scheduling conflicts before they became problems. No one noticed. Except him. She didn't realize it at first. Only sensed it in the way silence shifted when Ethan Hale entered a space. Conversation sharpened. Posture straightened. Even the air felt different. He never spoke to her directly. But she felt his presence. The first time she noticed him watching her, she was kneeling beside the printer, trying to clear another paper jam. Her fingers were smudged with toner, her bun slipping loose. She glanced up and there he was. Standing at the end of the corridor, coffee untouched in his hand, eyes fixed on her. Not annoyed. Not amused. Focused. The second their gazes met, his jaw tightened. He turned away without a word. Her heart thudded painfully for reasons she didn't understand. It became a pattern. She would sense it before she saw him. A heaviness. A quiet pressure between her shoulders. When she looked up, Ethan Hale was almost always there, watching from a distance, expression guarded. If someone spoke to her too casually, his attention sharpened. If someone praised her work, rare as it was, he seemed unsettled. It didn't make sense. He barely acknowledged her existence. And yet, one afternoon the injustice became impossible to ignore. Maya had spent 3 hours correcting a spreadsheet for the finance team, catching a decimal error that would have cost the firm hundreds of thousands. She left a discreet note explaining the correction and emailed the updated file. Later that day she overheard laughter near the boardroom. "Good catch," someone said. Ethan noticed it immediately, another replied. "Saved us a mess." Maya stopped walking. Ethan noticed it. Her chest tightened, not with anger but with something colder. So he had seen it. He had known it was her work. And still he let the credit pass right over her. She returned to her desk without a word, hands trembling as she organized files that were already perfectly aligned. That night she stayed late. Not because she had to, because going home to her quiet apartment felt heavier than staying invisible in a building full of people. The city lights outside flickered like distant stars. She was alone. Or so she thought. "You missed a line item." Maya startled so badly she nearly dropped her pen. Ethan Hale stood just inside the doorway of the executive wing, jacket slung over his shoulder, tie loosened. He looked different like this, less polished, more human. Tired even. I'm sorry," she said. He stepped closer, pointing at her screen. "Row 32. Vendor logistics. It's correct now, but earlier drafts had a discrepancy. You fixed it?" "Yes," she said cautiously. "You didn't flag it." "I left a note." "I know." Silence stretched between them. Then, quietly, "Why didn't you say anything in the meeting?" Maya stared at him. "I wasn't invited to the meeting." Something flickered across his face. Guilt? Annoyance? Conflict? "I see," he said. For a moment she thought he might say more. "Explain. Apologize." "You didn't?" "Good work," he added instead, curt, almost reluctant, and turned to leave. The words should have felt like validation. Instead, they felt like a crack in something already fragile. "Mr. Hale," she said before she could stop herself. He paused, back still turned. "Is there a reason?" she asked carefully. "You treat me like I don't belong here?" The question hung in the air, dangerous and vulnerable. Ethan's shoulders tensed. When he turned, his eyes were darker than she remembered. Guarded. Controlled. "You don't know anything about this place," he said evenly. "Then teach me," she replied. For a heartbeat, something almost raw surfaced in his expression. Then it vanished. "This isn't personal," he said. "It's precaution." "Against what?" "Against you." The words were unspoken, but unmistakable. He left without another word. Maya sat back slowly, her chest aching. She had been underestimated before. Disregarded. Overlooked. But never like this. Never by someone who looked at her as if she were both insignificant and dangerous. What she didn't know was that Ethan Hale wasn't protecting the company from her. He was protecting himself from the truth he wasn't ready to face. When the room turned against her, the humiliation didn't come loudly. It came dressed as professionalism. Maya realized this the morning Ethan Hale asked her to sit in on the executive briefing. It wasn't an invitation. It was a directive, delivered through a calendar notification with no explanation. Her pulse quickened as she entered the boardroom, clutching her tablet like a shield. The room fell quiet for half a second. Heads turned. Brows lifted. She recognized the look immediately. Why is she here? Ethan stood at the head of the table, immaculate as always, gaze unreadable. He didn't acknowledge her beyond a brief nod toward an empty chair near the wall. She sat. The meeting moved fast. Numbers, projections, expansion strategies. Maya listened closely, tracking patterns others missed, her mind assembling connections automatically. It was something she'd always done. Seeing structure where others saw noise. Then it happened. One of the senior directors spoke confidently about a proposed acquisition. The numbers looked impressive, on the surface. Maya's stomach tightened. She checked again. Then again. The projections were inflated. Subtly. Deliberately or not, she couldn't tell, but the risk was massive. Her fingers hovered over the tablet. Don't speak. You weren't asked. Remember the rules. Ethan's voice cut through her thoughts. Any concerns? The question wasn't directed at her. But his eyes flicked toward her, briefly. It was enough. Maya inhaled. Actually, yes. Every head snapped toward her. The room stiffened. I believe the projected returns don't account for the supply chain penalties outlined in Appendix C, she said carefully. If those clauses activate, the margins collapse within 18 months. Silence. Thick. Heavy. One of the directors chuckled softly. Appendix C? Another smiled indulgently. Those are worst-case hypotheticals. Maya kept her voice steady. They're already in effect with 2 of the vendor's subsidiaries. Pause. Then laughter. Not cruel but dismissive. That's quite a leap for an administrative consultant, someone said. Maya felt heat rise up her neck, but she didn't look away. Ethan watched her. Not interrupting. Not defending. Watching. Thank you, Maya, he said finally, tone neutral. We'll take that under advisement. Dismissed. The meeting moved on as if she hadn't spoken. As if she hadn't just tried to prevent a financial disaster. Afterward, no one spoke to her as they filed out. No eye contact. No acknowledgement. She gathered her things slowly, hands trembling. Ethan lingered behind. You shouldn't have done that, he said quietly. Her head snapped up. You asked for concerns. Not from you. The words landed like a slap. I was right, she said, voice barely steady. That doesn't matter. She stared at him. Then what does? For a moment, his composure cracked. Just slightly. You don't understand what you're stepping into, he said. And I won't let you put yourself, or this company, at risk. Something inside her hardened. I didn't ask you to protect me. His jaw tightened. That's exactly the problem. He walked away. The consequences came faster than she expected. By afternoon, her access to internal reports was revoked. By evening, her role was quietly refocused back to basic administrative support. No explanation. No warning. Just exclusion. Maya sat at her desk long after everyone left, staring at the city lights, the injustice pressing down on her chest until breathing hurt. She had spoken the truth. And been punished for it. That night, rain battered the city like an accusation. Maya stayed late again, organizing archive files no one had touched in years. Busy work meant to keep her quiet. Thunder cracked overhead. Then the lights flickered. Once. Twice. The building hummed uneasily. Great, she muttered. She stood, stretching stiff muscles, and froze as the power cut out completely. Emergency lights snapped on, bathing the corridor in dim amber. She took a step and slipped. Again. The floor was slick from rain tracked in earlier. Her foot slid out from under her, body pitching backward. This time there was no warning gasp. No audience. Just the sudden sensation of falling. And then, arms around her waist. Firm. Immediate. Familiar. Her breath caught as she collided with a solid chest. Ethan. They stood there in the half-light, bodies too close, hearts pounding loudly in the silence. His grip tightened instinctively, then stilled. Slowly, reluctantly, their eyes met. Gone was the executive detachment. Gone was the authority. What remained was raw conflict. You're shaking, he said. So are you. Thunder rolled outside, shaking the windows. For the first time, he didn't let go immediately. For the first time, he didn't look away. And for the first time, Maya saw it clearly. Fear. Not of her mistakes. Of her truth. The truth that shattered everything. The emergency lights cast long shadows across the corridor, stretching silence into something heavy and intimate. Ethan still hadn't released her. Maya was acutely aware of every point where they touched. His arm firm around her waist, her hands gripping his jacket for balance, the faint rise and fall of his chest beneath her palms. The storm outside roared like a living thing, thunder punctuating the moment as if the world itself were holding its breath. Slowly Ethan stepped back. I didn't mean to, he began then stopped. Maya straightened, smoothing her blazer with hands that betrayed her calm. You keep catching me, she said softly. But you never tell me why. The words lingered between them. For a long moment Ethan said nothing. His gaze drifted past her, toward the darkened executive wing, the glass walls reflecting fractured versions of himself. I didn't plan for this, he finally said. For what? Maya asked. For you. Something in his voice made her heart ache. The lights flickered again. The building groaned under the weight of the storm. Come with me, Ethan said suddenly. She hesitated. Where? My office. Every instinct told her this was dangerous territory, not physically but emotionally. Still she nodded. They walked in silence, their footsteps echoing. When they reached his office, Ethan unlocked the door and stepped aside, letting her enter first. The room was spare. Clean lines. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, rain streaking down the glass like tears. A man's space, controlled, restrained, carefully curated. Ethan closed the door. Maya, he said, voice low, what I'm about to tell you doesn't excuse how I treated you. She met his gaze. Then why tell me at all? Because you deserve the truth. He crossed the room, opening a drawer in his desk. From it he pulled a thick folder, aged, worn at the edges, handled too many times. He placed it on the desk between them. 8 years ago, he said, this company nearly collapsed. Maya's breath caught. My father trusted the wrong people. Signed contracts that destroyed our supply chain. People were injured. We almost lost everything. He swallowed. The name on those contracts was Ellison. The room seemed to tilt. My father? Maya whispered. Yes. Her hands trembled as she opened the folder, scanning documents she'd never seen before. Legal filings, investigation summaries, news clippings. I was 18, she said faintly. He never talked about it. He just worked harder. Then he got sick. I believed he was responsible, Ethan said. I grew up hating that name. Waiting for the chance to make sure no Ellison ever hurt this company again. Maya's throat tightened. So when you saw me, I thought fate was mocking me. Silence pressed in. Then last week, Ethan continued, I found something. He pulled out another document, newer, clean, official. A forensic audit, he said. The contracts were altered. The penalties added later. Your father signed the original agreements, but someone else weaponized them. Maya stared at the page, vision blurring. So he didn't? No, Ethan said firmly. He didn't ruin us. He was used. A sound escaped her, half laugh, half sob. Years of quiet shame, unanswered questions, judgment she never understood, cracking open all at once. I punished you, Ethan said hoarsely, for a lie. Tears slid down Maya's cheeks. She didn't wipe them away. And you took my work, she said. My voice. I know. Why? She demanded. If you were already questioning it, why keep pushing me down? Ethan's shoulders sagged. Because if you were right, he said, then everything I'd built my anger on would collapse. The truth hung there, ugly, human, honest. Before she could respond, the office door burst open. Ethan, there you are. A man stood in the doorway, impeccably dressed, smile charming and effortless. Maya, he added, eyes flicking to her with polite disinterest. Didn't expect you here. Ethan's body went rigid. Ivan, he said coolly. Ivan smiled wider. The storms knocked out half the building. Thought we should coordinate. His gaze landed on the open folder. Something dark flashed across his face just for a second. You found it, Ivan said softly. The temperature in the room dropped. You altered the contracts, Ethan said. Ivan sighed as if disappointed. Business is messy. Your father wanted someone to blame. The Ellisons were convenient. Maya stepped forward, anger burning through her grief. My father lost everything. Ivan shrugged. So did we, until we didn't. Ethan's voice was ice. Security is on their way. Ivan laughed lightly. You think this ends here? It ends now, Ethan said. Later, as security escorted Ivan out, the storm finally began to fade. Maya stood by the window, watching the city breathe again. Ethan joined her, not touching this time. I can't undo what I did, he said. But I will make it right. Publicly. She turned to him, eyes steady. Justice isn't a favor. I know, he said. That's why I'm not asking for forgiveness. For the first time, Maya believed him. When truth stood tall, the room was full. That alone told Maya Ellison something extraordinary was about to happen. Executives, directors, legal counsel, faces she usually saw only through glass walls and whispered hierarchies, were seated shoulder to shoulder in the main conference hall. Conversations buzzed with confusion, anticipation, and restrained tension. Maya stood near the back, hands folded tightly in front of her. She hadn't been told why she was invited, only that she needed to be there. The doors closed. Ethan Hale stepped forward. He didn't stand at the head of the table this time. He stood in the open space before them all, exposed, deliberate, unguarded. "Thank you for coming on short notice," he began. "What I'm about to share affects not only this company, but the way we define responsibility, leadership, and respect." The room quieted. Maya felt her heart begin to race. 8 years ago, Ethan continued, this firm nearly collapsed under the weight of a scandal. We blamed a name. We blamed a family. And we never questioned whether the story we were told was complete. A screen behind him lit up. Documents appeared. Audit reports. Forensic analyses. Time-stamped alterations. Gasps rippled through the room. The contracts were manipulated, Ethan said evenly. The liability was engineered. The Ellison family was used as cover. Maya's breath caught. Ethan turned slightly, just enough to acknowledge her presence. "Maya Ellison," he said clearly, "has worked among us while carrying the consequences of a lie she never created." All eyes turned to her. Her knees nearly gave out. "She was underestimated," Ethan continued. "Silenced. Punished for speaking the truth. And I allowed it." A murmur spread. Shock, discomfort, realization. "This ends today." The doors at the side of the room opened. Ivan was escorted in, face pale, confidence gone. The charm that once shielded him lay shattered under the weight of evidence now projected for all to see. "Legal authorities have been notified," Ethan said. "And this company will cooperate fully." Instant karma didn't arrive with shouting. It arrived with silence. With recognition. With a man who once ruled the room being reduced to accountability in front of everyone who had believed him. When Ivan was escorted out, no one clapped. They didn't need to. Justice doesn't require applause. Ethan turned back to the room. "Effective immediately," he said, "Maya Ellison will assume a strategic advisory role on our risk and ethics board." The room erupted, not in cheers but in something deeper. Respect. Maya stood frozen. Ethan faced her fully now. "And I owe you an apology," he said. "Not privately. Not quietly. But here, where I failed you." Every word landed. "I judged you by a name instead of your character. I treated your silence as insignificance. I was wrong." Maya swallowed hard. "For weeks," Ethan continued, "you showed restraint, intelligence, integrity, and kindness I did not deserve. And you never stopped standing tall." He paused. "If you choose to stay, this company will stand behind you." The choice was hers. Maya stepped forward. Her voice didn't shake. "I don't want power," she said. "I want accountability. And I want this place to be better than it was." A beat. "Let's start there." Later that evening, the building emptied. The storm was gone. Maya stood in the lobby, the same marble floor where everything had begun. Ethan approached slowly. "I won't ask for forgiveness," he said. "Only the chance to earn trust." She met his eyes, the same eyes that once looked through her. "Then start by walking beside me," she said. He smiled. Not the smile of a man in control, but of one learning humility. As they walked out together, Maya felt something she hadn't in years. Not triumph. Not revenge. Because justice hadn't lifted her above others. It had simply allowed her to stand exactly where she belonged.